Hi, I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're working on our Halloween pumpkin that we're going to name I Smell Rat. I think that's pretty appropriate, don't you? So this is a fun project. I purchased most of the items at the dollar store, so we're going to get started and show you how to do this guy. I'll scoot him back a little bit so we can, got a little live guy down there too. I picked my rats up at the dollar store. There was 4 in a packet. Depending on how many you want to put into your project is how many you want to pick up. I have 6 now, so I'm going to go ahead and put 6 in. I think I had 6 or 8 on my first one. So however many you think you need, go ahead and pick them up. And then I also picked up the pumpkin foam. The foam pumpkins from the dollar store. I picked them up at Dollar Tree. They seem to have them every year, and I've been doing a lot of videos with them this year. So go down, pick a bunch of them up, and we've got a lot of fun projects for you. We're going to put our holes in, and these are circle blades. And I found one that I put right in, and this one is 32 millimeters. So one that just the little rat fits right into is perfect. If you don't have any circle blades, we've got them online at miriamjoy.com. This is a great set of 12, and it'll give you every size circle you're ever going to need. So that's a really good product at a good price. So we do have those available for you. And picked my little guy up. I attached him to my drill, and I pre-marked my holes where I wanted them to go. I want one on top that's kind of coming out. And it's going to make a little bit of a mess. And when you get to this point, I have a wooden dowel that I set around here somewhere, so I could pop these out. So let me go find him. Okay, I found, and this is just a skewer. I picked up I don't know, a bunch of 50 or more at the dollar store again, and just poke that in that hole and get that coming right out. And that's the easiest way to get your styrofoam out without taking out the bit. And then go on to your next one. This is going to get a little bit messy. But it's going to go pretty fast. I'm going to go ahead and finish drilling all of these, and then I'll meet you on the other side. I went ahead and drilled all of my holes for my rats, and I cleaned it out, and I actually hit it with a little bit of air and tried to corral all the styrofoam pieces. These are actually carvable pumpkins. It's what they tell you, so you could carve them, and I've seen them this year. They have little eyes and mouths and jack-o'-lantern pieces that you can stick into them, which is really cute if you have little kids around too. So that's a lot of fun. I'm not going to worry about putting the inside color in. I don't think you're going to see it, but we're going to go ahead and put another coat of paint over the entire pumpkin just to make it kind of look nice. And I'm going to use tangerine, which is a more orange color. And I'm going to go ahead and do the entire pumpkin. And I'm not using a great brush, one of my older scruffy brushes. I use them probably more than I do my nice brushes. And because it is an orange color, we're not going to worry about putting 2 coats on it. We're just going to kind of get it on there. And we're also going to kind of want it wet because we're going to work with some black on it as well. So my daughter loves pumpkins, and she was a little girl. She called them plumpkins. She always had a collection of them. She always said that they were plump and they named them wrong. So can't think about doing a pumpkin without thinking about her. Just moving some pencil marks I left behind there. Nothing's better than good old spit. I should be using water. Sorry about that. Every mother knows that trick, don't we? and to put it to dry, because we're doing all the sides, a dry board would be really good to set it down on, so it can continue to dry on all the sides. We do have those available on our website at miriamjoy.com. We've got double-sided dry boards now. Okay, so we've got that all on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put black in the holes, but we're also going to kind of bring it out and spread it around. And don't worry if you kind of get some of that foam stuff out there. We want all of the white in the holes covered up. And this is just acrylic paint, black acrylic paint for this one. And so I'm just bringing, and then what I did is I just kind of brought it to the outside and wisp it around just kind of like that. I'm also going to put it a little bit into the pumpkin. You don't want it too much. I probably have a little bit more than I would like there. I'll come back over that with my tangerine color in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of the holes first, and then we'll come back and we'll put some black on the rest of it just to kind of make it look kind of creepy looking, I guess. The bringing that paint out and just kind of wisping it off kind of gives it that nod through look, so it looks like it's kind of been nod through. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to hardly have any black paint in it, just a little bit, and then we're going to come back over with our wet paint from our tangerine too, and just kind of make it look aged is what we're kind of doing. Just not a real fresh pumpkin, I guess, is what we're after. So I'm going to rinse it out, and we're going to bring some pumpkin back into, or excuse me, tangerine is the color I'm using. It just gives it that little bit redder color. And we're just going to kind of blend it in a little more so it's not real stark. And if you have it too much, let that dry a little bit and put some more back on it. There's no right or wrong, it's just whatever you like, so don't feel, you know, if you don't like it, then just do something different. I always try to give you the basics for you to learn to build on. Just because I do it this way doesn't mean that's the way you need to do it or that's the right way. So we've got this guy going pretty good now. So I'm probably going to put him on my dry board and let him just kind of dry. We're going to put some more color on him in a while here. We've kind of got the base all done, so I'm going to set him aside. And I'm going to start working on our leaves. And we do have a couple of green leaves, and that really brings the color into the pumpkin. I really like that. And I'm using burlap, and instead of using the big burlap, I'm using burlap ribbon, and the reason is because I can buy it where it's stiffer, so make sure you've got a stiff piece. And we're just going to cut our leaves out, and as long as you're cutting them up this way at an angle, you're going to get tons of leaves out of it. So I'm going to just cut 2 for this project. And I'm going to be using lime green and classic green on my leaves. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, you're probably tired of hearing about these. But when I find something I like, I kind of stick with it for the year. And I'm going to use a little bit of water, not too much, just to get the paint down into the burlap. My buddy boy pointed towards him. If I like something, he better hope that it's not up next year. Do that both sides. And then I'm going to dip into the green just a little bit. And then we're going to work that out. So we get a two-toned on our leaf. Flip it over. And do that again. And I'm using my scruffy brush. I'm not using my good brushes. It's a little bit rough on them. So while that guy is drying, I'm going to put a little bit of poly flake glitter on, a real fine gold glitter. Just enough to give it that kind of sparkle, that holiday feel. That holiday magic, that's what it is. And I like them to turn up. That's fine with me. I think that's really neat when they kind of get that curl to them. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glass candle holder, and this I also picked up from the dollar store, and I'm going to paint the bottom of it black. And I am using a multi-surface so it can go on the glass. And it is acrylic, multi-surface paint, acrylic paint. And I picked mine up at Walmart. And you can do one or you can do two coats. It's up to you. But what this is going to do is this is going to give you, if you look at the bottom of the other one, the black to white. And I really like that feel. I think that's a real cool effect, especially for Halloween. So we're going to go ahead and let everything dry, and then we'll come back. Oh, we've got one more thing to work on. I almost blew that one. We've got our stems, our pumpkin stems to work on, and that is our paper twist. I do my stems the same way. Been doing these for a while. I think it just adds so much more to them. It makes them go kind of off the vine feel. And just take your paper twist. If you're a person that works with reeds and stuff like that, you can use the paper reed. And we're going to unwrap it. We're going to do two about 6-inch pieces. And I'm going to paint them with my Extreme Glitter by Folk Art, and it's just glitter. We're not changing their color. We're leaving them the natural color. Again, we're just giving them that little bit of magic feel. So I'm going to use my rough brush on that. I go ahead and paint both sides. Most likely you're only going to have one side that's going to show up, but just in case, I go ahead and paint both sides of that. I'm going to go ahead and trim this now so I don't have to paint both of them, come to a twist or a point there. And we're just going to put the gold glitter on both sides of that. Let that dry, let our pumpkin dry, and we're going to start assembling all of that together. Okay, we're going to, now that everything's kind of dry, I'm going to go ahead and start putting the ridges into the pumpkin. What we're doing is making these ridges really deep to make the pumpkin look even more rounded. So I'm going to be floating color, and I've gone into my floating gel, or floating medium, and I've blended that back and forth, and I'm going to set down into my color. And my color that I am using is Tuscan Red. So what we're going to do is we're going to add these in between each one of these ridges. And we're going to float the color one direction. And I didn't explain enough about we forgot to blend it out. So we're going to put the gel in here. We're going to dip it into our paint, and we're going to blend this back and forth. And what happens is you go from solid paint to no paint. And I do have a better video that spends a little bit more time discussing that, and we'll put that up onto our screen so you can go and watch that. And I'm just going to do this in each one of the ridges. One direction, and then once I get them done that way, I'm going to turn it around and put them back to back with the other. If you floated with water and you know how to do that, do that. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's the way I have learned to float color. Just whatever you're comfortable with. You can see I'm not going all the way to the bottom because that's going to be underneath. If you want to, you can. But we're just going to do it all the way around, and it's really going to make these ridges stand out. So I'm going to finish floating them one direction, and then we'll talk about going the other direction. Now that we've done them one direction, we're going to turn our pumpkin over, and we're going to do them the other direction. And I don't go over the black part if you have like the whole, like start underneath that, but we're going right up against, I'll show you how that, get a close up here. We'll go right up against this guy. So we've got the dark to the dark right up, so the color is coming out on both sides. And if you need to go over it and darken it up a little bit, that's fine too. There's some little ones that are in between the ridges, and you can, like we have a round one and it's in between the middle there. You can do that or not do that. That's totally up to you, however you want to do that. And as you can see, that really makes those ridges really, really stand out now. So that's the reason that behind that we're floating those, the color in those ridges. So now that we're done with that, I've been making a big mess here today. See if I can get the black off my hands a little bit so it doesn't get on anything else. We're going to add the veins to our leaves. We're going to start at the bottom where the dark part is and pull it to the top. And we're just adding those veins so that they taper off on the very top. And I'm just using a permanent marker. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to start applying everything all together now. We're going to put our stem on first, and we're going to hot glue that puppy on. And you just want to get down to the bottom of the base of this as much as you can. Nice and tight up against the stem that is there. And hold that in for a little bit. And then we're going to do the one on the other side. Instead of putting it on there, I'm going to put it on this stem part, and that way it'll cover up the other piece as well. We'll get that all covered. Once that is dry, you can twist it as one piece to kind of start out with, and then you can end up twisting those two little pieces individually to give it that kind of viney feel that we were talking about. You don't have any color on your hands like I do because you don't want it to come off onto your stem. Now this little guy I'm going to glue together here. So we've got him on, and we're going to go ahead and start putting in all of our rats. We're going to use our Spanish moss, and we're going to glue these around the insides of the holes. And I'm going to turn it to low temp here and just do this little bit at a time so it doesn't melt it too much. And we'll put one side in. And then we'll put the other side in. Go all the way around like that. So I'm going to go ahead, don't let it drip on your pumpkin at the bottom because you don't want it to melt. I'm going to go ahead and do all 6 of these holes, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about putting the mice in. Now you want to put enough moss in here that you can't see the white insides of the pumpkin. And then I stick my finger all the way in the hole and stick the tail of the mouse in. And what we do is push him in, but then pull him out part way and glue him. And I put the glue all the way around. And then we stick him back into the hole. Some of them you want him peeking out a little bit. Some of them you want sticking out a little bit more. Out of just different things. Now this last little guy, what I've done with him is I've cut his tail off. He didn't yell, I promise. And I kind of have him kind of sticking out. And then we'll have his tail like it's sticking back over here. So he's not going to be down as far. So we're going to glue his rump. Pretty good there. So he's kind of up on top of that hole. And then we're just going to put his tail back on so his tail shows. If you want more of him showing, just clip them off and glue them back on. I promise they won't mind. They'll be glad that their tails are there. So there we've got his little tail back on, and you can always cover it up with the little Spanish moss. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more of the Spanish moss around the pumpkin stem, just to kind of clean everything up, kind of give it that viney feeling. Doesn't take a whole lot, just enough. I want to make sure we can see our little mouse and his little tail. Okay, so I've got him in front, so I'm going to decide where I want my leaves to go now. And I think I'm going to kind of put them like right behind him. Opposite direction that the stem is going. I'm just gluing those on. And I also put on the other one a little crossbones and skeleton kind of little guy right there. And these I found in a bracelet or necklace. Sometimes you can find them at the dollar stores. I found a little bracelet of all of these guys at Michael's this year. And then we're going to add just a little bit of a pick to it. I'm going to cut it in half, 5 and 5. And we're just going to put 2 in. And it just gives it that, just that little bit of festive kind of feel to it. That little pop of color. So I'm just going to put them right behind our skeleton head and the crossbones. And you can bend them whatever way that you think that kind of needs to go. I need to glue them on just a little bit more down there. But that is, oh, we forgot to glue him on here. And I really like him on a stand. You could leave him down if you wanted to. I just hot glue that. And while I've got it, I just put it right in the middle so I know exactly where I want it to go and just set it right on there. And that is I Smell a Rat. Isn't that a lot of fun? I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get all the new fun videos that are coming out and be the first one to see them. Thank you for joining us today. God bless.